I guess we're filming now, so I'm going to start
Mike.
talking
We are
about the
filming.
Belmont.
Hey Mike, it's Lisa.
Hello, Lisa.
How are you?
I am okay.
So what's this thing you got here?
Well, this here is a Belmont Rapid Transfuser.
Why would we use this?
Well, there's a couple of cool things you can do with it. Probably most importantly, it's used to give blood warmed and rapidly to a trauma patient that's in dire need due to hypovolemia.
Cool. So where would I normally find this in the trauma room?
Well, it's always kept plugged in beside the blanket warmer in the back corner there.
Oh, okay. And does it always have to be plugged in order to work?
Well, if you want it to work to its full capacity, it's better to leave it plugged in, because as soon as you unplug it, there are two things that are going to happen. You're not going to get the heat that you normally get from it when it's plugged in, and also your volume is going to plummet down to 50 mils per hour, which
50 mils per minute.
per minute, right, which is still very fast.
Right, still fast, but this thing can even go faster. So that's
Totally
pretty cool.
faster, yeah.
Okay, so if I want to use this, can I just use it? If I'm like trauma 3 and I'm starting lines, I can also run the Belmont and do meds at the same time?
No, not unless you're Jan Lee Ferguson.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a one-to-one thing.
It is definitely a one-to-one thing.
Okay, so
It's important actually is once you're on this machine and this is your job, you do not do anything else. Your sole purpose here is to make sure that you're following the fluid because it's running in so rapidly that you're checking the blood, hanging the blood, and making sure that your trauma lead knows how much fluid you've put in so they can chart it properly.
okay, cool. So if I'm going to use this, where am I going to find the equipment for it?
Okay, so outside of the infuser being over in the corner here, your blood tubing, or sorry, your transfuser tubing, is right here.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Okay, and that's all I need is just that?
Well, it depends. If you're running through an intraosseous, so if you're in the tibial plateau, the Belmont doesn't do so well on that. The matrix of the bone is very dense, so it's hard for the amount of fluid you're pumping through. It's going to beep and sing and make really loud noises and interrupt your trauma. So what the recommendation is you can Y-site the bottom end with this tubing right here.
Okay, so, and that's kept right beside the
Right
Belmont
beside it.
tubing.
So that way you can put in a second tibial plateau IO and it will be a little more effective in distributing the fluid.
Okay, now we don't want to open that brand new package and waste money.
No,
so
they
we
are
have this.
$265 per.
Okay, so we have this one that was open. Can we see how you would put it on? Like how
Absolutely.
would you insert the tubing?
So door latch right here, pull it out, open it up, and it's actually color coded.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Now, I have fluid bags attached to this, so it's going to be a little awkward, so please bear with me.
Okay.
The whole idea, though, is just to follow the color tubing so that it plugs into each side. Ignore that noise. So, you got a little cup here.
Okay, so what did you put on that little latch? Oh, that's
Just to hold your filter.
okay, perfect. So you do that first.
Yeah, and so we're going to put that in there.
And there's actually a little arrow that shows which way to put it.
That's
Excellent.
correct. Yeah, and then you just follow along with your tubing down here. Now this guy's been punched along pretty good, so he's a little floppy, but your heating coil's going to go in here. And then your tube comes around. There's another little filter thing with a sensor inside and a latch right there. Now you're going to see that I'm popped out here. I'm going to pop this right in there. This is going to go in here.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to close that up. I'm going to lift this up because someone changed that.
Oh yeah, because there's a kink on that too.
That's right. So once you plug it in, you're going to want to put your foot on there because it's hard to get in. It plops right in, and voila.
Now, if I want to turn this on, how? So you got the tubing in, and now I want to turn it on. Where's the on button?
The on button is right here.
Okay, golden. Great. Is there, okay, so then I would hang the blood and it would go through here warm to the patient. Can I hang anything and like put anything through this that I want to be put in fast and warm?
No, you cannot. There are certain things that do not get infused through here. Platelets being number one, you don't put platelets through.
Okay.
It's
and
also
that's written even to remind me. Okay.
and also cryo can't go through and albumin can't go through as well.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah,
Like,
Ringer's lactate.
oh, okay. So if you forget what can't go in there, it's also written on there.
Yeah. Ringer's lactate, it contains calcium, and that doesn't bind well with the citrate in the blood.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, and now, so this will just go at like a super fast rate no matter what?
No. So before we get into the priming and everything, your max speed on this is 750 mils per minute, and your bottom rate is 2.5 mils per minute. And if you run it below 10 mils, you're not going to get your heating ability.
Oh,
So
okay.
anything above 10 mils per minute will be heated. This little coil heats up to 42 degrees, and the purpose is by the time it reaches the end of this, it's going to be 37 degrees and going into the patient.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, and so I think I read somewhere too that it also depends on what size of line you have in that patient.
That's correct. So technically, you can use your IO, which we discussed earlier on. You can also use technically a 22, however, you can't put blood product through a 22. We do keep a little coil binder thing on the end of here just to let you know how big each IV and how much it can take, but that's pretty much the long and the short of it. You can see the 22 doesn't really infuse blood products, but it likes fluid, and these are all in mils per minute.
Okay.
So a 12, you can run 750 mils per minute.
Okay, excellent. All right, and so now coming back to this, so if there's a pressure alarm, it might just because of the site that I'm trying to infuse in it. So I'll take that into consideration. And now how would I go about priming this?
Okay, so once you've got fluid on board, what you can do is prime the system, and this is going to be done before the blood product shows up. So
This one here.
on the keyboard itself, you have a touch system here, and it's going to prime the inside with 100 mils of fluid. Important thing though before you start is to make sure that your latches are open and make sure that your fluid is open and ready to run. And then we hit prime, and you're going to see it's going to count down from the 100 mil. Nothing will come out the end, it's just priming the inside of the system.
So it's priming that in there. Okay.
Now we come to the system being primed, and it's time to prime the patient line, which is the line that's attached to the bottom here.
Okay.
It is a touch system. You want to hold the button down and prime your line until you see the fluid coming out and no air bubbles in your line. So I'm holding that down. Once I'm primed, I press stop, and it'll give me the option to start infusing.
Okay. Excellent.
The next screen you're going to see once you hit, oh, perfect. We have an air bubble. This is a good idea here. So what it's going to tell us is there's air detected, and what we do next. You can tell by the beeping here that in the middle of a trauma, it's going to be loud. There's no way to turn that volume down. So we're going to follow the prompt. I'm going to find out where that arrow's pointing. And what it's telling me now is to hold that valve open, which will pop this valve down here open, and it's going to release that. And you can mute it at that point.
Okay, so you just follow the instructions on the screen there.
That's correct.
Great.
So now I'm going to reprime, and it's going to do the same thing again. Now I'm ready to go.
Okay.
So there's two ways to start your infusion. You can already see the temperature up in the top right corner starting to heat up. It is plugged in right now. Once I start putting the fluid on, the temperature is going to start climbing. It's set right now to go at 10 mils per minute. I can change the infusion rate here, but if I'm deciding that I need blood to go in at a specific rate, I can do one thing. I can hit that button there, and what it's going to do, it's going to try and climb to 500 mils per minute. But we put an 18 gauge on the end of this, so we know that from our form earlier, it says it possibly get up to 210. I found it climbs a little higher.
Well, and right now you're not having that resistance of the patient.
That's exactly right. So it's allowing us to go to 285 mils per minute. Now, important here is make sure your fluid's not running out. That's why it's a one-person job.
Yeah.
So, and the temperature's slowly climbing up.
Awesome.
So there are other options on this as well. You can start at the bottom, and I can start by turning up to 2.5 mils per minute. And you see there that we are no longer getting our heat. And we can climb up by using the infusion rate button. I think it's also important to note that you don't want to start pushing buttons repeatedly, because this thing will get a little confused and it will start beeping at you. So knowing that you can climb up, you can do that, or you can just hold the infusion button down and it will climb up for you. It will take a minute for the infusion to catch up to your finger.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good overview, and now we just gotta practice. Thanks, Mike.